Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third Pi and AI webinar on how to break into AI. I will be host for you today. My name is Ali Parande. I'm actually a data scientist here working in a tech startup in London. And I'm also the founder of Beginners Machine Learning Working Group here in London. And I can't wait I can't wait to get started in this webinar where we present to you a framework on how to break into AI. So many of you might have come here from deeplearning.ai, or you may have found the event on Eventbrite and signed up. And if you have any questions about the strategies on how to break into AI and so forth, please feel free to post them in the comments below. We will try to answer them as we go forward. Today here with me as well, we have a guest speaker, Raghav Dave. He's also a data scientist working for a insurance firm called Canis. I work for a rail tech startup here in London called Hack Partners. And both of us come from an engineering background. And what we will be doing today is we will be giving you um, a, a framework or strategies on how you can break into AI yourself. So these strategies are based on our own experience and how we managed to change our careers, going from an engineering background to an AI field. However, it can also apply to any other background. So if you're coming from any other industry or any other background, whatever previous experience you have will still be relevant and will still be useful for you. It's just what matters are the strategies you use and how you go ahead in terms of like trying to apply these strategies to get a job in AI. So today we are having a presentation where we present to you some of these frameworks. Before we go forward, I just wanted to do some housekeeping. There is also a video by Andrew Ng that has been prepared for us. I'm just downloading that video, and once that's done, I will present it to you. But in terms of the housekeeping, I just wanted to let you know a bit more about Beginners Machine Learning Group and who we are. So we are a community group here in London. We organize workshops, we organize events, we organize talks that we discuss like latest algorithms. The workshops we look at different cloud technologies and machine learning technologies, and this is mostly for people who have not got much experience in machine learning, or they want to like level up in that area. So we run workshops from beginner to advanced. And if you're looking to build a prototype in the AI field, or you're looking to change careers, this would be a really useful group that you could join. So if you just search Beginners Machine Learning in London in Meetup, you would be able to find us and you can join the group. Another announcement I have to make is I'm very excited that tomorrow we will be starting our most popular computer vision workshops. If you're ever interested in applying computer vision on videos and images, feel free to click on the slides below. So I provided a link for you that you can go and see the slides for this presentation, and click on the link in order to be able to go and register. There's also a link as well for you to register if you want to attend the workshops tomorrow. People who register for this workshop will be provided with our online course, which is currently in development. So this course will have about 12 hours of videos, 20 Jupyter Notebooks exercises for you to work with, and about 6 to 8 projects for you to do, from building a Sudoku solver to building a license plate recognition system using computer vision algorithms within OpenCV and Python. So if you're interested in learning computer vision and then later on how we can apply it in deep learning, this is really great course for you that will complement your skill set that you have like either learned from taking deeplearning.ai courses, or if you're planning to take those courses later on. So what are these courses? You want to become data scientists or who are working as data scientists in the field and they want to expand their skill set to images and videos. If you're a student as well and you want to build your own personal portfolio, Same thing with software engineers. So if you're coming from a software engineering background and you want to build a prototype on an application that uses computer vision tech. If you're a researcher, for example, in medicine, working on X-ray scans or any sort of like data that includes images within it, that would be useful for you. Startup founders as well, if you want to build your own prototypes using computer vision, or engineers. So you guys have like we had, like, for example, area survey scans. We had like video footage that we can normally use in different environments. You can use computer vision to automate series of tasks or like make intelligent decisions if you learn how to work with this like OpenCV and Python libraries. And finally, designers, video editors, and visual artists. So if you work in creative industry and you want to know, like, for example, how Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator works under the hood, this is the perfect course for you because you will understand all of those from the beginning. The only thing about this course is that it is a beginner to intermediate course. So we would expect you to have a bit of background about Python programming. And there is a really good course on Udacity if you want to, start up from scratch and don't know anything Python. We would recommend definitely take on that course, which is free as well. And you don't, in terms of like mathematics, it's just basically some basics that you can learn. Just doing some courses online or just brushing up on your skill set. And these will be just like some of the similar projects that we will taking on. So contour detection, equalization of images, license plate recognition, and so forth. And you will also receive a certificate at the end, which you would be able to share on your social media and LinkedIn accounts. So with that said, let's get back to the actual webinar. I'm sure like you are guys very excited to get started within this field. So this webinar is structured into 4 sections. Section 1 focuses on building skill set and how you can build your AI skills, where to go, what to study, what not to study, and to go from there. Second section focuses on building a personal brand. And in this section, we will be focusing on what are the different skill sets and tools you need and techniques you need in order to attract companies coming to you, attract startups and co-founders coming to you, instead of you having to sweat it a lot to get an opportunity within AI. So building a personal and professional brand, it's about like a couple of techniques and strategies that we will provide you with some ideas on what you can do to break into the field much faster. Lastly, we will focus on getting UK visas. So if you want to, for example, work in the UK and you're currently not in the UK, or you're a student in the UK and you want to convert to a work visa, we will give you some tips and hints on what stuff you need to do in order to maximize your chances for getting a UK visa. And lastly, we will also focus on building an AI career, building your AI career and what you need to do in order to maximize your progress within this field. So with that said, I have a video for you from Andrew that we would like to share it with you. And then from there, we can start the presentation going forward. So I'm just gonna play the video for you in a moment.
Hello, deep learners. I'm Andrew Ng, founder of deeplearning.ai, and I'm excited to welcome you to our global deep learning community. I know that many of you are here today because you want to break into AI and build your career. I hope that being part of this community will help you to do so. To give you a proper welcome, I'd like to show you around the deeplearning.ai offices and meet some of the teams so that you can see where it all happens.
Oh, hi, Andrew.
Do you want to tell our friends at Pine AI what you do at deeplearning.ai?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I make articles and other media that help people learn about AI and help them understand the huge impact that AI is having in the world. Today, I'm putting together the next issue of The Batch, our weekly newsletter, And I'm looking for the biggest stories of the week to keep our readers informed.
What's been the most surprising thing you've run into working on the batch?
How much is going on in this field? There's never a dull moment. You might think from the outside that machine learning engineers really understand everything about AI, but nobody understands everything about AI because this field is just coming to life right before my eyes as I put this thing together every week.
All right, I know you're really busy, so I'll let you get back to it.
Thanks. See you later.
Let's go meet Kian, who helped me create the deep learning specialization. He's working on an exciting new project. Hey Kian, so do you want to tell the people at Pine AI what you're working on?
Yes, sure. I'm leading a project called Workera, focusing on helping people get offers in AI and navigating their career by testing their skills, preparing for interviews and certifying them, as well as preparing for interviews and certifying them, as well as matching and referring them to good jobs in AI.
That's really cool. And what's the most exciting part of your day?
You know, the AI field is new, organizations and jobs are still misunderstood, so I'm excited to help people understand what different types of jobs exist in the field, what tasks they will work on, and what skills are needed to achieve those tasks.
And that's really important work. Well, it's nice chatting, and now let's go chat to Hotel, who is on their product team.
Hey, Andrew.
Do you want to say hi to our friends at Pine AI and let them know what you're working on?
I would love to. Hi, everyone. I lead the product team in deeplearning.ai, where we create AI education content accessible to people all around the world. People like you.
And what are you most excited about right now?
I am so excited to see our community grow and to see how eager people are to learn more about AI.
Thanks, also.
Thanks, Andrew.
So, as you can see, our team is working hard to support you and help you learn. It's never been easier than before to break into AI. So if you want to build a career, you can leverage online resources available, including open source code, datasets, papers, and online courses like a deep learning specialization on Coursera. As part of this journey, I hope you get your hands dirty too. Don't be afraid of diving in to build your own project, or go ahead and try to replicate a research paper that you're excited about. One thing that I've seen help a lot of people succeed is if you can build a community or find a community of fellow deep learners you can meet with and study with on a regular basis. In fact, I hope that this Pine AI meetup that you're at right now will be a good place for you to meet these people. I hope you enjoyed the event today and that you learn a lot, both from the talks and from each other. And once again, welcome to the deeplearning.ai community.
All right, guys, welcome back. So as Andrew said, it's there's such an exciting field to get into. And the best way for you to get involved is first get started learning the skill set and then get involved in the community, start your own thing, work on your own projects, work on projects with other people. You know, just like be curious about all the various technologies that are out there that you can get your hands dirty with. And just like if you keep just doing that, like in a nutshell, I guarantee you that you will break into AI. It would take you 1 year to 2 years of just like continuous involvement and continuous learning for you to reach the levels that you feel comfortable like working in this field and you don't feel like an imposter syndrome. But if you follow the strategies we're going to present to you in this webinar, you would be able to get to the level that you can actually build your own prototypes, build your own projects, work on your own projects, and actually feel excited, not feeling overwhelmed, and you know where exactly all of the different pieces of information fit in. So in the first section of this webinar, we will focus on building your AI skill sets. So what exactly do you need to do? Like, what are the AI skill sets you need to build if you want to work into AI? So if you go back to normal traditional programming, the traditional programming we basically write a script, and then that script is compiled or it's run on an interpreter, and that is basically your program. Any program you want to write, you write a set of instructions in a script using if, else, case, while statements, for example, in JavaScript or in Python, and then that program executes, and whatever conditions that you need to put in, you just basically write extra instructions for that program to execute. And it's very like linear, very like tree-based logic that you can use to go forward. With AI, it doesn't work like that. So with AI, you don't have like the rules and the conditions of the environment are so complex, like the application you want to use use it on, it's so complex that you can't just like sit down and write a set of instructions. I give you a simple example. How can you detect spams in emails? Like if you write a script to like detect the spams, you may put some conditions in there. For example, if the email says, "Can you send me money?" Click here to sign up. Click here for us to talk to each other and stuff like that that are a bit more spammy. Then yes, you could like capture those emails, but then the spammers may change their tactics, they change their strategies, and they keep doing that, as we go forward. And if you want to write a script that would capture all of those spam emails, you're gonna have a hell of a time because you have to like write down so many if else statements to capture all of those conditions. So this is where machine learning and AI come in. And what machine learning and AI does is that you give them a bunch of data, you give them a bunch of emails, you tell it which emails are spam, which emails are not spam, and the machine goes and finds the patterns from the emails to the labels of those emails using an algorithm that like, so the algorithm could be different. The algorithms are like the methods or the recipes that the model is then produced on. So when you have a data, you do some data analysis on top to figure out if it's clean, if it's ready to be trained, to have a model trained on, and then you use an algorithm to train an AI model, which is simply a function. Just think of it as a function that you put an input in, it gives you an output. So you put in an emails in it, and it will tell you if the email is spam or not spam. So basically what machine learning does is that it writes its own set of instructions, and you just give it input data and output data. You say, I have this input data and I know this input data maps. And basically what machine learning does is that it writes its own set of instructions to this output data. Now I want you to learn these patterns, this mapping, so that when I give you a future input data, you can actually figure out which mapping it belongs to, like which one of those labels, for example, it belongs to. So that's the main difference between machine learning and between normal traditional programming. But AI is such a big field. So if you just search artificial intelligence and you go on Wikipedia, you see AI as encompassing everything that a computer can do that resembles human behavior. So these things could be to do with planning, learning, natural language processing. It could be to do with like finding its own self within spatial space. Like it has lots of different like fields and subfields. One of those fields is called machine learning, which is a subset of AI. And what machine learning is it's a subset of AI technologies or AI research, AI and knowledge base that focuses on statistical methods for enabling machines to do stuff that resembles human behavior. So the main focus in machine learning is using statistical methods. So statistical algorithms that produce AI models that would allow you to then use them for automation tasks, prediction tasks, and forecasting. A subset of machine learning algorithms, which all of them are under the hood statistical. So what that means, they use maths and they use statistics to map an input data to an output data. The deep learning subset are those algorithms that mostly focus on neural networks. Well, always focus on neural networks. And deep, we say deep because basically these neural networks are not shallow. There aren't 3 layers. There are many, many layers. And when it has a lot of layers, the neural network itself figures out how the input data maps to the output data, and you don't need to do anything else. And it's mostly used for complex applications, for example, computer vision, where images and videos, which are stored in computer as a matrix of numbers, can be interpreted and contextualized in a computer for a computer to understand what they are. So we use those deep learning techniques and algorithms to process these more complex data sets. So it's not just a normal table, it's actually like much more complex in terms of like the content it provides to the algorithm. So we use deep learning to do that, and it's a subset of machine learning. So as a person who wants to get into the AI, or who wants to become a technical, for example, co-founder, the relationship between machine learning and data science is this Venn diagram. So data science, to be a data scientist, you need three things. You need hacking skills. So that is basically how good you are with Python or how good you are with R programming. You need good knowledge of maths and statistics. So you understand how machine learning algorithms work under the hood. So if, for example, you train an AI model and it's not performant, you can understand the relationship between the algorithm and your data, and you need to understand how to manipulate the data or which algorithm you select that would produce a model that is the most accurate model of them all. And you also need understanding of your data, which brings you to your substantiative expertise or your domain knowledge. So this is where I say whatever background you come from is always relevant, because if you're applying AI in your industry or in your own field, this is where you actually can stand out from the crowd in a competition, because you have a better understanding of what the data is telling you and how you can use that data to train an AI model. So once you understand the deep learning concepts, you understand machine learning concepts, and you build up your AI skills, you have your domain knowledge, you have your math knowledge, and when you bring them all in together, you become a data scientist that like no one else can match up to, and that's how you actually can stand out from the crowd in this industry. So every data scientist can be unique just because of their background experience and their knowledge and understanding and skill sets. However, it can be overwhelming to build an AI skill set. Just look at this landscape, and this is just 2019. I have another photo for 2020, and it's much bigger. And there are so many technologies out there. So here we have infrastructure, we have analytics, machine intelligence, open source tools, API tools, data resources, data engineering tools, databases, and so on. Like you can go in so many different fields. Like if you just look at the purple box, that's all just the different industries, different companies working in the different industries over there. So there are so many technologies, and there's so many like startups and companies working in this field that it can be very overwhelming if you just trying to start out. So that's why we have this webinar for you, to give you some kind of roadmap for you to get started and go from there. The roadmap, actually, if we before they provide the roadmap, we take a step back and we do a bird's eye view of the whole skill sets that we may require in order to become a data scientist or a machine learning engineer. This is it. So this is a map that I've produced by looking at at least 50 to 100 LinkedIn job postings from popular companies like Airbnb, Deliveroo, and so on, and the skill sets they normally like shop for when they are looking for a data scientist or a machine learning engineer. And this is not a skill set for one data scientist. This is a skill set for a data science team. So what that means, it means you don't need to learn all of this. This is all the things that you could learn if you want to become a super well-rounded data scientist, but you don't need to learn all of them. You only need to learn some of them that are mostly important, depending on what you want to do. So if you want to become a data scientist, you probably need to learn the maths and statistics parts and the algorithms, MLDL algorithms part, as well as knowledge of deep learning frameworks. So the red circle, the black circles are the things you may want to focus on, as well as the data visualizations part. If you want to become a data engineer, which mostly focuses on building databases and data pipelines, you focus on the purple boxes and the green box. So DevOps, cloud computing, and data engineering, and knowledge of how like Apache Kafka works, Apache Spark works. And this is basically when working with millions of rows of data, you prepare those data sets, you clean them for the data scientist to then use later to do the data analysis on, and then to build a machine learning model with. And there are some general skill sets here that apply to all of them, to all of the different roles that you may work in. So, for example, soft skills are always useful for any role you are in. Product and software engineering knowledge and skill set are always useful any of these roles that you're working in. Skills. So if you are working for a consulting startup or a consulting firm and you are a data science consultant, it is paramount that you learn consulting skills so that you can actually um, apply your knowledge to help clients in this field. In terms of like other stuff, if you're working in a data field, so let's say you are not you are focusing, you want to get into AI, there are some fundamentals that you will need to know. One of them is programming languages and tools. The other one is data visualization libraries. And then the third one are just like basic awareness of the other things going on in this tree map of skill sets. So you don't need to understand a deeper understanding. You just need to be aware of them so that you can interface with those teams, data engineering team or data science team, if you're working in there. Now, there are a subset of other roles, for example, data analysts or data or BI specialists. So, for example, the people who actually analyze the data and produce visualizations. So data analysts mostly focus on data visualization, understanding how they can extract insights from data. Data scientists go one step further and they actually use statistics or machine learning to develop AI models or infer insights from the data that are not there. So while data analysts and BI specialists focus on getting insights from sets and bringing data sets from various different sources together, the data scientists may go one step further, build AI models on top, and infer insights from data that are not there using inferential statistics or descriptive statistics. So that's the main difference between them. There is also one skill set that I didn't cover, that's web and API development. I believe for you to become a well-rounded person in this field, it's also good if you know a bit of web development and API development. For example, if you're a technical co-founder and you start going and developing like your own product, you probably, if as a technical co-founder, you may want to work on it yourself. And if you can just code in Python and you cannot actually like build an interface to work with your AI model, no one will be able to like test what you've built. So it's also useful if you can also, for example, develop your own web applications and interface that with like the AI model that you deploy, for example, on the cloud. So this is like all the various different skill sets that could come together to help you build stuff or become very, very useful in this industry. But there is a lot of them. You don't need to learn all of them. Just focus on the main ones. Python programming, data analysis, visualization, get version control, software engineering skills, and then you can branch out into working on DevOps, cloud computing, or data engineering, or machine learning frameworks, and so on. So what I would recommend is where to start. First is there are two courses that I would like you to focus on. One is Learn How to Learn. Is actually a really good course on Coursera that helps you understand how you can actually accumulate lots of knowledge in the shortest amount of time. So it gives you strategies for doing that because as I said, there are so much stuff to learn. So it would take you 1 to 2 years. So you want to be able to maximize how much you can learn within this period. Then I would also recommend you to construct your own AI curriculum. So what I mean by this is focus on like what are the things that you really enjoy learning, and then try to put them into a roadmap. When you have a product roadmap, put it in a roadmap where you say, okay, I first learn Python programming, then I go and learn data analysis, then I go and learn statistics, then I go and learn machine learning, and put them into a line and then like start doing it from there. And you don't also need to do it in a way that like most people recommend. Do it in any way that you like yourself. So if you're bored of doing maths and statistics before doing machine learning, do machine learning stuff first. And then when you get stuck and you understand how an algorithm works, then go and like learn statistics and learn the maths behind it. at least you get your hands first dirty with machine learning and the fun stuff, and then when you get more interested in this in how things work and you become a bit more curious, then you can go and learn the under the hood stuff. So you don't always need to start from fundamentals. Do stuff that like makes it fun for you going forward. Actually, in fact, I just wanted to show you something that I've been working on for past couple of days. So I've been trying to put together my own curriculum for beginners machine learning group, so that then we can develop courses for it. And this is actually, if I just able to show it to you to give you a glimpse of what it could look like. This is, for example, a curriculum that we put together that we think would logically connect up all of these different various like skill sets. And this is a massive curriculum, so don't feel like you need to learn all of it. Lots of it will be like optional, but like what first you could do is you could start with software engineering, then they go into data wrangling and visualization, then learn a bit of statistics, learn a bit about working with databases, like working with SQL, relational databases, and NoSQL, non-relational databases, learn a bit of machine learning. So that is supervised, unsupervised, and just like how it can be applied into business. And after each like section that you learn, like try to do some kind of project for yourself. Learn a bit of computer vision, then understand like how computer vision works under the hood, learn OpenCV. Then if you want to go into text and sequential data, working with time series data and working with textual data, learn deep learning for sequential data. So that this is data that like is related to each other. So for example, in a text, words are connected to each other in a sequence. That's called the sequential data. And in time series as well, the data points are connected together on a timeline in a sequence. So this sequence and these connections, these relationships are very important when it comes to building your AI models. And then I suggest these as well, like you may want to learn a bit of them as well. So web development, cloud computing, data engineering, and just like learning a bit more about career development, how you do interviews, how you apply for jobs, or if you want to start your own business, how to start a startup, how to do product validation, how to do idea validation, and how to get users working on your product, and so on and so forth. So this is for example an example of curriculum that I have provided that I'm working on. It's still not finished, but I just gave you a glimpse. However, if you want to build your own, I have provided you with on the slides. If you go, I have provided you with if I just present it back. With a spreadsheet, it's massive, of all the online courses that are available for you right now. And this is actually an updated spreadsheet. There are still many more online courses. And I have categorized them different topics. So what you could do is go in there, pick and choose, like it's like an Amazon shopping cart. Just go in there, pick and choose the ones you like, and put them together, connect them up, and just make sure like whatever you choose, you don't just focus on one box in this tree. You focus on different parts. So if you want to become a data scientist, focus on the mathematics, the machine learning and data science consulting, software engineering. If you want to become a machine learning engineer, so like a specialized data scientist that only just do deep learning, learn the deep learning frameworks really well and learn the algorithms for machine learning really well, plus the soft skills and the software engineering skills. But if you want to become a data engineer, focus on DevOps, cloud and computing, and big data engineering tools, and a bit of deep learning. And if you want to become a data analyst, then the data analyst is like less work. It's the easiest to get into. It's programming languages. You need to learn either Python or R, data visualization tools, and for example, also BI tools, for example, Tableau or Qwilk or Power BI, and how to like connect spreadsheets together and working with databases. So like these are the things I recommend you to focus on. There's also a map of courses that I've provided as well in the slides that you can go and have a look at. And this provides you with a much better understanding of various different people working on with their various courses that could be useful for you that we recommend you take when you want to learn a bit more in about each topic. So it's a lot to learn. So what can you do to make sure that you don't stop halfway through? I would suggest that first, don't take too much on your plate. Just like start small, learn programming, and then like as you get interested in different topics, write them down somewhere, and then just like go back and like pick a topic and study a bit more about it. If you get bored, go study something else, and then just like keep doing this for a year or two, and then develop a routine of just like learning for just a couple of months to a year, and just learn and learn. Like you don't need to do anything with it. Just learn and learn. And then if you come up with if you have your own projects in mind, yeah, work on the projects. Actually like build as you learn, build stuff as you learn, or work with other teams as you learn. The other thing is developmental mastery. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough year, sticking to the program, sticking to this journey if you want to break into AI. So I would suggest be patient with yourself and enjoy the journey. So you know the destination. The destination is breaking into AI. However, that doesn't mean you cannot enjoy the journey. So enjoy the journey, enjoy yourself. As you study, have fun with different projects. Just like, see how different technologies are working. Just be passionate about technology and go from there. If anyway it gets a bit tough, I actually found an article on Entrepreneur magazine, and it was called 50 Thoughts That Can Motivate You to Do Anything. I thought it would be actually fun to put it into a poster that you can print and put on a wall, where you can read like every day or every time that you feel a bit down and you feel like, I'm just like, all of this work I'm doing is like not getting me anywhere. Just go and read this. I call it the motivation pill. Like you just read from top to bottom all the 50 thoughts, and I can guarantee you that you will feel a bit more motivated to like do whatever you want to do that day. So I have also provided this poster in the slides, in the link below. If you want, you can go there and you can save this file. I will try to also upload the PDF if you want to actually print it out and put it on a wall yourself. And lastly, in order to achieve mastery, I would say study only stuff that interests you in terms of like the technical courses. And if I just move my head, I would also say keep a log. So why do you keep a log? The log is not for others to use, it's for you. And what it does is it basically makes sure that you don't get overwhelmed. So as you study stuff, you will be presented with different topics. And what I recommend you to do is just keep a log of these topics that you get introduced to while you're studying stuff or while you're taking online courses, and then just put them in a box. And whenever you finish the current course that you're working on, you can go into the box and you can actually review the list of topics that you have been exposed to, and you know what you don't know now. So previously, while you didn't know what you didn't know, now you know what you don't know. So you can actually pick a topic that you don't know about and you want to go and learn a bit more about. And this way just makes sure that you don't get overwhelmed, and you just go like, oh, now I need to learn this, and then I need to learn that, and oh, I didn't know this existed as well. So this lock will just make sure that you don't get overwhelmed, and it would allow you to go from there and learn as you progress in your learning journey. You keep a log of like everything that you've learned so far in the back, as well as stuff that you could learn in the future, and it just gives you a better understanding of the field. So the map that I provided with you previously, the map of skill sets, may not be complete. Maybe you find stuff to add to that map. If you do, perfect. Extend it, even send the map to me. And then the last thing I would suggest is, instead of just learning stuff, actually the best way for you to learn them is to teach or write papers or blog posts or making YouTube tutorials and courses about the stuff you learn. So don't feel like you need to be an expert in the field. You become an expert by producing content. So by writing blog posts, writing papers, and posting YouTube videos and courses online. And this will tie in with the next section of this webinar, which is about building a personal and professional brand. As you produce content, you build your brand in the industry about that person who's an expert in that field. So expertise doesn't work by getting certifications. It does to an extent and getting experience, but it also works by putting together content and creating content and putting together courses and teaching and writing. So why is that though? Because of this Bloom taxonomy. So when you first learn something, let me just move my head up here. When you first learn something, you are start at the bottom of this pyramid. And the more you get engaged with the courses you take, the more you go up in this pyramid. So if you really want to understand the concepts, the best thing you can do is when you can remember them, understand them, apply them on a project, analyze and evaluate. For example, take apart like the concepts and why they work, and understand how like these concepts relate together in a course, and then create content on top that actually extend whatever the course you took before can use. For example, if I was learning about software engineering and I also learned about data science, and I go above this pyramid on both courses, I now understand why data science concepts are there and why software engineering concepts are there. And then I can start creating a course about how data scientists can use software engineering in their workflow. And that is like something novel and something new that you can only get there if you go up this pyramid. And then when you get up there and you create your content, you create your courses, then that's how you become, that's how you build your professional brand. Because using this technique, then you would be able to produce content that are novel, and then people want to come to you to learn those skill sets and learn those ideas and concepts that you produce. It could be new. It could also be reiteration of the stuff that you've learned before, just like from your own angle, from your own way of presenting and your own way of teaching. So it's still going to be valuable even if you don't create something new. Just create something that is a bit of teaching to yourself. And then the other part about building expertise is, I would say, strive for certifications. So try to get certifications, but course certificates to some extent, do it for yourself. Don't do it for showing off to other people unless you're doing cloud certifications. Then cloud certifications are much harder to get. So if you're planning to like post them on LinkedIn and use them in your job interviews, and like put it on your CV, I would recommend cloud certifications because they're actually accredited and well known within industry. Course certificates may not be well known, and recruiters or other people who want to work with you, they may not exactly know the value of that certificate for a specific course. So what I would recommend is, don't do courses because of their certificates. Do them for the learning, because it's always valuable. If you get the certificate, that's a bonus. You can post it on your LinkedIn, but don't expect that certificate to like give you opportunities. The only certifications that I think might give you opportunities, and not definitely, but might, are the cloud certifications that are related to data and AI science. So the other thing as well is becoming certified by professional institutions. So if there's a professional institution in your domain field, for example, if you're an engineer, getting professionally registered with the Engineering Council as a chartered engineer or chartered accountant or chartered architect and stuff, becoming chartered, for example, that will definitely be valuable because people will recognize it, and that will actually progress your career and gives you more opportunities. So if in terms of like certifications and charterships and like accreditations, I would focus on those things that actually matter, the 80%, rather than that 20%. So get core certificates. A lot of them together becomes an ocean, so that's good if each course certificate is like a droplet. So that's one strategy, but don't rely on them to give you opportunities. Mostly focus on creating content if you want to get opportunities. Content is what makes you famous and is what makes you the people coming to you for opportunities rather than you having to go and looking for them. And that's what basically I say: build something, find a problem, apply the tech on it and solve that problem, and then publish it in a blog article, for example, and then tell other people how you did it. And that's how you can actually build a professional brand that would allow you to bring those opportunities to you. Now, there are some slides here that I would just want to show you. This is the log slide. For example, if you're doing like different courses, you can put them into like Kanban boards on Trello, just like this. There is also, I provided some slides for you on data science pathways. if you want to get those cloud certifications. So these are provided by AWS, Azure, and GCP. There are also a couple of books that I recommend if you want to get further into the field. Data science from scratch is a good starting point. If you want to start it in deep learning, actually the author of Keras library, one of the most famous libraries to do with deep learning, and that is now part of TensorFlow, has written the deep learning with Python book, which is really easy to understand book to read, to understand how neural networks work. And hands-on machine learning with scikit-learn, Keras, and TensorFlow is also very useful. If you want to just learn all the various different machine learning algorithms, not just deep learning. So for example, with the scikit-learn library. And for other stuff, other books here focus on different bits of different topics. So Python for data analysis focuses on pandas library and matplotlib on how to use these libraries to wrangle data, visualize them, clean them, and so on. Data pre-processing, I would say, when it comes to building machine learning models. Other books here focus on different topics. So NLP, with deep learning frameworks, data visualizations, statistics. So I would recommend actually getting one of these books and going through them as you go forward. Start with courses first because they're easier to consume. Then go into books if you feel like courses are getting a bit more easier and repetitive. So books are always very valuable. And lastly, the next section that I want to focus on is building your personal and professional brand. So before I go forward, if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. Raghav is actually answering some of them for you right now. But what will happen is we will switch streams. So Raghav will take on and speak a bit more about building skill sets and professional branding as well from his understanding and his background. And I would be able to answer some of your questions as well. We will also have a Q&A at the end where you can actually ask us any questions that you might have. So in terms of building your professional brand, I've already covered most of it now. It's about putting yourself out there. So what I want to focus on is think about the industry roles and that you want to get into and how to put yourself out there. So in order to stand out from the crowd when you get into the AI field, I want you to first know which industry you want to make an impact in. So which industry do you think you have a better chance of like breaking into AI? So not all industries you would have a good chance of breaking into AI because there might not be enough data science roles available, or those roles are very competitive. A lot of people are already applying to them. So think about those industries that you really enjoy that have a very low competition, and the roles that you really like that have the very low competition, and create like some kind of mapping for yourself and figure out which industries you could focus on when you're trying to break into AI, both in terms of finding a startup, like building a product that could become big, or finding a career that actually helps you break into AI, and then from there you can then go into more competitive industries and competitive roles. To give an example, right now in IT and marketing and finance, there is a lot of progress that has been done in terms of data science. So a lot of these industries are currently using data science technologies and AI to quite a good extent. So there may be a lot of roles available for you to use to break into, as well as there are lots of startups in these fields. However, there is also very high competition. So it's much harder for you to get into these fields. You may need to learn much more before you can actually apply your skill sets. So you may have to be a Kaggle competition winner, or I don't know, like you have to like have a shopping list of lots of different skill sets before you can even be considered for a junior data science role in these industries. So when I say competition is tough, is that like companies expect you to be more, and startups like you are expected to produce a much better quality product before you can actually, as your MVP, before you can actually like get seed funding or Series A funding or anything like that. So I would suggest focus on those industries that are like AI is kind of like can impact them quite a lot. Like if you do AI in these industries, in IT, marketing and stuff, the AI may not be that impactful. It would just be like, oh, like now I can understand something much better. Okay, good. But in like, for example, industries like transport, agriculture, I don't know, medicine, if you apply AI, like because they've not used these technologies before in that field, you can actually automate something, forecast or predict something that could actually like revolutionize the industry, revolutionize the market, the way it works, the way services are being provided, and so on. And it actually can actually make a big, massive impact if you start a startup or if you want to break into the field. You could start your own teams. You can actually like progress much faster in your career, have much responsibility if you focus on roles and industries that have much less competition. So do a mapping of competition, industry, role, and your skill set interests, and then figure out exactly where you need to focus in terms of applying your skill sets and becoming a person of influence in that niche. So find your niche. So that's the first strategy. Um, in terms of technology itself, you can see here based on the growth and the volume. So this is a growth versus volume chart. Which technologies are actually taking on the the landscape, pushing the landscape forward at the moment in terms of technologies. So, for example, emotion AI is not being worked in much. However, chatbots and autonomous vehicles as AI applications are being worked on quite a lot by a lot of different companies just because they provide a lot of potential for growth as well as provide a lot of potential for volume, as in sales that you can do if it was your product. So you can also see computer vision here, as up here you say it's actually quite a big promising field. So basically, if the dots are up here, it means that there is a lot of research being done. There's like research papers coming every day, advancing the knowledge and advancing the use cases for these applications of these things, these AI technologies, um, right now. Whilst all the dots that are down here, not much is going on because like there aren't many applications thought of them yet. Maybe you can do something to bring them up here, or you can focus on these on these technologies up here that are already promising. That if you focus on learning them right now, like use them to break into AI, then you could become a person of influence and professional and build your professional brand just because you focus on the right thing. So use this chart as well to your advantage when you make your decision on like which niche you want to focus on. Lastly, there are a couple of other tips that I would suggest. I've already said this before, mentioned this before. Start a blog and become active on LinkedIn. So social media on LinkedIn. So like those platforms that actually do matter. Do post daily. Write your own content, create your own content, and write blog posts and post them on social media. That would allow you to gradually build a personal and professional brand. When I get started first in AI, that's what I started to do. And most of the time in the beginning, you're not going to get much traction or engagement. That's fine. Don't do it for them, do it for yourself. Like think of it as like your own journal, where your LinkedIn profile is your journal of like your learnings, where you basically write your stuff, you post them, you write again, you post them. There's something you cool you found, you share them. And like you just basically you build a habit around posting daily and creating content regularly as you learn new stuff, because as you create content, it helps to solidify your own understanding of concepts. And gradually you will become a person of influence where opportunities come to them instead of you having to go to find opportunities. To give you some tips on how to build your profiles, I've provided a slide here for you to give you some example. I'll just provide a brief overview of what different things I need you to focus on when you build your profile on these social media platforms. GitHub and LinkedIn are some of the most well platforms to use if you want to build a professional brand. GitHub more for data scientists and programmers. LinkedIn also as well useful for professional network. So if you want to break into AI and you want to actually code yourself rather than just be like a non-technical role, focus on building both profiles to 100% quality. So what that means is make sure all the fields are all the forms are filled. You have clearly described your personal experience and background in your about section. All of your jobs are completely filled. You have actually also links to, like, for example, content you've produced, or to achievements if they're like on a web page that you can share. Building your network, having like more than five, getting the connections in, networking with people and building your network. So these are the things that help you build your LinkedIn profile. For GitHub, I would suggest like being an open source contributor. Find projects that you can contribute to. It doesn't need to be to contribute to code. You can also contribute to the documentation. So sending pull requests to contribute to GitHub repositories that could benefit from your contribution. And if when you code daily, keep this bar green. So this shows number of commits you've made on each day across the year. So the more you're actively programming every day and the more you commit, this chart will become greener and greener. And then hiring managers or people who want to work for you can use it as a way to understand how passionate you are about programming and how much program, like how big of a habit is it for you? How big of part of your life is programming? And it's a good way to understand who's not programming every day and who's programming every day, and like sift through in terms of like the skill sets, figuring out who they can work with. And you can also pinpoint your projects here. So use GitHub as your portfolio. As you learn stuff, start working on different projects, start a new repo for each project. And what I've done here, for example, is I have learned different various programming languages, and I've created project for each. So I have some web applications projects that I have posted. I also have some data science as well as deep learning applications that I have posted and pinned as my featured projects. But in total, I have like 37 repos in total. So I have 37 projects. It's just like these are the 6 that I've chosen to feature for someone who comes to my profile. So that's how I managed to like build my portfolio and build my professional LinkedIn profile to go from there. Other things that I would recommend you do is attend hackathons. So one of the current job that I got, for example, was because I attended some hackathons. And normally, when you attend enough of them, at some point you stop being a participant and you can actually win some of them, and then those give you some opportunities. So when I won when I won 1 or 2 hackathons, that's when the job offers started coming in. This is the same true with Kaggle competitions. So Kaggle is a website where you can go and apply data science from there and apply your data science skills on competitions and on challenges and learn from others who are much better than you, which they may do something stuff differently, and you can learn a lot from them. And also about finding role models. So role models are like, people of influence. For example, on LinkedIn, you can find them in data science. If you do some Google search to figure out what are the people who are like changing the AI field quite a lot, for example, Andrew Ng could be a good role model for you. And understand them, study them, and see how they actually, became a person of influence in the field. What are the things they did? What did they study? How did their background make them people who they are today? Can you imitate that? So if you find that inspiring, try to become that person. And then like your own person. So bring different role models together and then make them into one new role model, and then try to imitate that and focus on the strategies and techniques that they used to be successful, so that you can be successful as well by following those strategies. If it's worked for them, it can work for you as well. And you don't need to focus on people like role models. You can also reach out to senior people in the industry. So like if you see someone working for a company and you want to work for that company as well, and they might be a senior, they might be just a data scientist working there, you can reach out to them and ask for help, ask for their advice. And people love to talk about themselves, they love to help other people, so they would be able to, they may love to sit down with a coffee with you if you just provide them with the opportunity to have a coffee. Just buy them a coffee and then just sit down and chat with them and just try to learn from them, pick their brain. And this is like one of the ways you can get inside industry knowledge of the company, of the industry, that would allow you to get much better opportunities in this field. Or when you're starting your own thing, they may connect you to people who you actually need in order to build the product that you want to use for your for building your startup on, or like for finding your co-founders. So these are some of the tips and tricks that I would recommend you to focus on if you want to build your professional brand. In terms of Kaggle, this is what it looks like. So it's a place where you can go and join competitions. There are also some other resources as well if you want to use for hackathons. Crowd AI as well is similar to Kaggle. You can actually host a challenge or participate in challenges. If you want to actually do some hackathons and you're looking for some of them, go to devpost.com. They have a good list of hackathons that you can participate in. Also, my company, Hack Partners, we also run hackathons each year. And I think this year in a month, we may run another hackathon, which basically you focus on improving passenger experience in the rail industry by working on different projects that uses data and data science and AI technologies to improve passenger experience, reduce train delays, and just make transport industry much more efficient. So we run those hackathons as well with that theme and that topic, and there may be one in a month, which may be virtual. So I will send you a newsletter. If you sign up to the newsletter, or you can just send me a message on LinkedIn. I'm also available on LinkedIn at Ali Paranda. So we could let you know more about this hackathon once we start getting registrations for it. So some hackathons you can just register. Other hackathons you actually need to fill in an application form. This is a more exclusive hackathon where you need to fill an application form and get accepted before you can participate. So with that said, so that's all I have to say in terms of like building your skill sets and building a professional brand. I hope it's been useful so far. What I recommend you do is, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat now. I will now give the table to Raghav, who will provide you with more insight about building skill sets, getting into the industry, and also getting lots of certifications. So Raghav has actually managed to get certified not just with Azure, but also with AWS as well, with machine learning specialties as well as data science specialties with both. And these are like very hard certifications to get, by the way. So he will give you some ideas on how you can get certified as well as how you can break into AI. So I will just provide switch the stream to him, so he will be able to provide you with more insights, and I will be able to answer your questions in the chat. So with that said, I will see you in a moment.
Hi everyone, my name is Raghav Dave, and as Ali mentioned, I've also transitioned to data science just a while ago, and I'm going to, through this presentation, I'm going to share my journey of how I made the transition. I'm just going to make sure that my stream is actually live. Cool. Yep. So 2016 is when I graduated as an aerospace engineer. And I started off my journey again. At the time I graduated, I didn't know much about data science and machine learning. So I started off my journey. I was very much into aerodynamics and computational fluid dynamics, and I still love that field. So I started off my journey as a CFD engineer, which is computational fluid dynamics engineer at an engineering consultancy company. In 2016, I worked there for 2 years, and still by the time I made a switch to another engineering consultancy, I wasn't very much into data science. So 2018, I started my second role again as a CFD engineer in an engineering consultancy again, and that is when I actually started to start my transition into data science, because by that time I knew data science and machine learning, and I was interested. So I wasn't sort of very much 100% that I'm going to transition now, but I was interested at that point of time. So I started learning, I started understanding what the field is, and I started gathering the skills. So 1 year I spent time in building the skill set, and it is that year in which I sort of determined that I'm definitely transitioning. So the first year I spent time just learning the different libraries and gathering my knowledge. The following 6 months is where I actually started to build my experience, so work on some real projects and build experience and build my network. And the following 6 months is where I did a lot of certifications, as well as projected myself as a data scientist. Did a lot of interviews and applied for jobs, and is when I actually transitioned. So October 2020, 2 months, last month, is when I actually started my first role as a official first role as a data scientist at Kainos. Before that, I had worked as a lead data scientist and as a data scientist for some other projects, which I'll talk about in a bit. But October 2020 is at Kainos is where my first official data science position actually started. So the first year of building skills is to very at the very beginning, to start off with, there is thousands and thousands of resources, thousands of courses. How do you pick what the right course is, and how do you know what skills to build on? I'll share what I chose. I just chose Python for Machine Learning and Data Science Bootcamp, which was a 21 or 26 hours of course on Udemy by Jose Portilla. And this was just an introductory course for me, where I could just get my hands on to Python and the necessary data science libraries like NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, Scikit-learn, TensorFlow. So this is just the basics of data science and the libraries associated to that, and also a bit of maths and statistics. Now, I come from an engineering background, so I didn't have to spend much time on maths and statistics. But if you come from a different background, it's very much possible that you would spend more time in gathering maths and statistics and probability and concepts around those before you actually officially kick off into data science. So I would say that spend some time to get comfortable with these programming language, as well as the data science concepts and the key data science libraries. And once you're kind of comfortable and you know what realm you're in and what you're actually doing, then start diversifying your learning resources into a broader set of things, so like books, blogs, and videos on YouTube, or workshops and webinars and those sort of things. But in terms of learning resources, I think books, blogs, and videos, I think I found them most rich in terms of knowledge sharing. And when you're doing that, when you're learning in your learning phase, you'd be going through a lot of practice data sets, practice problems, and you'd be actually creating your own code. You'll actually be creating your own Jupyter notebooks and creating your own models. Feel free to share this on Git. Don't be afraid of publishing what you're actually practicing, because that is what will let the world know that you are out there, you're learning data science. So definitely, even though no matter how small or big the problem it is that you're working on, how simple the data set is, or how dummy or toy data set it is, just feel free to publish that on Git. Next is, I think one of the most important thing I did in the first year when I was learning data science was every single opportunity that I found of working with any kind of data, I made sure that I used Python, Pandas, and Matplotlib to actually do any data processing and visualization that I needed to on Jupyter notebooks, rather than actually going onto Excel sheets. So depending on what background you come from, what your current role is, you might definitely be coming across some form of data. And if your work does allow you to, work with data and, play around with data on Excel sheets or anything, then it's definitely a good opportunity for you to make sure that every time you see any form of data and there is any form of processing that you need to do, grab that opportunity to actually apply the skills that you've been learning in terms of all the Pandas and Matplotlib, Scikit-learn, or SciPy, or any sort of predictive opportunity that you see, any sort of opportunity that you see for just even simple data visualization or processing. Pick those skills up that you've been learning and apply that at work. And I've done that thoroughly for pretty much every single project from that year onwards that I worked on, every single CFD project that I was working on at the engineering consultancy. And that has helped me definitely a lot in just learning the library itself more and learning the concepts more, and really putting that into practice. And I would say this phase of learning the skills is the most time-consuming phase. So be patient with yourself, because it's not easy. If you come from a non-computer science or non-programming background, then it will take some time to just grab the programming concepts. And if you come from a non-engineering or non-STEM background, then it'll definitely also take some time to understand the mathematical concepts of what's happening in terms of the machine learning and data science behind the scenes. So be patient with yourself, for sure. So after that 1 year of just learning skills and purely going through the different courses, The next thing I did was I focused on really building my experience in networking. How did I do that? So, as Ali mentioned, hackathons was one of the biggest sources for me to actually build on my experience, because hackathons is a place where you can actually get your hands on to real world problems in real industries. So these are no longer toy data sets that you work with in your Jupyter notebooks from your courses, but this is actually real world problems that the industry is actually facing, and they want people to come together and solve that problem. So hackathon are definitely a great place to actually work on real world problems. Also, second thing I would say is you get to know through the hackathons, you get to know what kind of data science problems you would be addressing if you go in a particular industry or a particular field, because you can diversify what kind of hackathons you attend. You get to know all the different industries, and based on that, then you can choose later on. You would meet different industry experts. You would get your hands on with the data sets that are available for those industry, and you would know what sort of data you would be working on, what sort of data science problems you would be working on. That way you can, before even you decide what industry you want to work on, you get a glimpse of all the industries that you can work for, from a data science or machine learning or AI perspective. So I think hackathons are a great place. And also, very important thing is that you would learn so much in that 2 or 3 days period during the hackathons that you wouldn't have learned in the past 2 months or 3 months, because it's so intense that you'll be working with a lot of different kinds of people, coming from data science background or technical architects or UI developers or front-end developers, that you would actually get a feel of how it would be working in a real data science project and delivering a real data science project and then pitching that project to the industry. So it's definitely 100% recommended to everyone who's trying to get into AI and data science. The next thing I also did was participating or being part of community projects. So community projects are just open source projects or projects that where industries welcome you to come and work on together collaboratively as volunteers. So I was a part of one such project, which was called COVID-19 Food Supply, and in that project I was trying to address the food supply issues when at the very beginning of the pandemic, when we were running out of the supermarkets were running out of toilet rolls or bread or even milk, simple like the bare essentials like that. And I think that was a very, very interesting project for me to work on. It gave me a lot of experience as well in terms of time series forecasting, NLP, and a few other data science topics that I could really develop my knowledge on. So community projects are great. It gives you experience, number one. It gives you something to put in your CV, in your profile. And also it gives you that connections, again, networking. So the next thing I did was Kaggle competitions. I'll be honest here, I didn't do a huge lot. I did a few Kaggle competitions, but I think they were definitely a solid place for you to get deep into your data science skills, because there would be one problem and there would be thousands of people who would have tried to address the same problem in different ways. And that's where you actually understand from different data scientists' perspective or different machine learning engineers' perspective how to address the same problem in different ways. And people do come up with really, really innovative ideas of how to address the same problem, even though you would feel that this is a simple classification or simple regression problem, but people come up with solid different ways of addressing even a simple problem. So I definitely would say it's a solid place to learn data science in deep. So the next place I would say is obviously these sort of webinars that you are currently a part of, and also workshops and tech expos. That lets you get to know what's actually happening in this industry. That lets you put in connections with different people who are industry experts, and also expose yourself to those industries or companies that might be open to recruiting new people. So definitely a good place to expose yourself to, and they're all pretty much free. At least the basic access is definitely free if you attend tech expos or workshops and webinars. AI and data science and machine learning is a very sort of open industry, open place where People are not hesitant to put things out for free. People are not hesitant to, people want you to learn, people want you to grow, people want to help you. So it's not something where you have to pay a lot to get hold of someone or get hold of some knowledge. It's a very open industry and a free industry for you to come in and learn and expose yourself to different ideas. So take advantage of that. And from all of these, Kaggle competitions, community projects, hackathons, webinars, workshops, tech expos, there's one really valuable thing that I've got out of, which is networking, connections with people. And these are really, really invaluable, I would say, because that's the connections that will give you even, commercial projects to work on. They'll give you friendship for lifetime. They'll give you peers who you can buddy up with in your learning journey. It'll give you it'll give you connections to industry experts that you can really learn from in terms of what's happening in the AI field for that particular industry. So these are really invaluable, I would say, connections, and you should definitely benefit from these things by building that network of people around you, by connecting to the right people that can expose you to the right opportunities. And from one such hackathon that I had attended, which is again HackTrain, which Ali has talked about, my first commercial project came from that. So that is the project that gave me the most commercial data science experience before I actually got started as a data scientist at Kainos. So really thankful of the fact that I had that opportunity to participate in hackathon. I took the initiative to actually do that, and also that I won one of the challenges in that hackathon. It's the reason why I'm here at this place as a data scientist. So definitely do take advantage of these things that are available for you. And while you're going through and building these experience, make sure you continue learning and getting deeper into the field. So while I was doing these things, I was also simultaneously taking deep learning courses. I was simultaneously reading through a lot of blog posts, practicing on different kinds of data sets to learn how I can address specific typical data science challenges, like how to address imbalanced data sets issue, or how do you reduce overfitting, how do you fine-tune your neural network. So these sort of things, continue learning while you're building your experience. And the final thing I would say, again, I would insist is that don't be afraid to share your work, publish your work, whatever you're working on, whether it's any hackathon that you would have participated or any community projects, as long as the terms of that hackathon or community projects allow you to share the work. Don't be afraid to share, no matter how simple project it is that you worked on. Share your work and make it public, and make sure that the world knows that you're working on something solid. That you are fine-tuning yourself as a data scientist or as a machine learning engineer through the journey, and make that reflect in your profile, in your GitHub repo. So make it public. Next, I would say, so carrying on from there, sharing your work is an important piece of building your brand. From now, you've built the skills necessary. You've gathered the necessary experience that you need in order to get into data science or machine learning or AI. You've got the network of people. What do you do from here on? You focus once you build these experiences, you focus on building your brand. And what I mean by saying, when I say building your brand, is project yourself as a data scientist or as a machine learning engineer. Even though you don't have a data science role yet, or you don't have a data scientist title yet, or a machine learning engineering title, project yourself as if you're already one. So call yourself a data scientist. That gives you the confidence when you are in interviews, when you're speaking to people or potential employers. It'll give you the confidence that you need in order for you to be called as a data scientist. So project yourself as a data scientist while you're building this knowledge and experience. How you can do that? I would say don't focus too much on one particular piece of data science. Look at the whole process from end to end. So when I say end to end, how do you start from very scratch? If you had data scattered into the organization, how would you have the right mindset to gather the data in the right way for you to be able to create data science solutions from it? Starting from there, from the data engineering bit to all the way to the end where you productionize the model. So once you build the model itself, think of how you would productionize that model into a cloud, and then how would you scale that model. What are the considerations you would need to have in terms of the security, scalability, and integration piece. So think end to end. Focus not just on one part of data science, but going from the very beginning of raw data scattered in different places in the organization to actually then building that data science solution, and then also deploying the data science solution in terms of into a cloud, scalable, connected with the other systems and secured. So think of the whole process from end to end, and rather than focusing on one piece, distribute your learning into different parts of that end-to-end machine learning process. I think one of the best ways to do that is certifications for Azure or AWS. So I've taken both the certifications. I've taken the two key certifications. If you're getting into data science and machine learning, there are two key certifications from one from Azure and one from AWS, and there's also one from Google Cloud Platform that they've recently rolled out. So the Azure one is called the Azure Data Scientist Associate. The AWS one is called the AWS Machine Learning Specialty. And the Google Cloud one is called the GCP Machine Learning Professional. So all these three certifications give you that end-to-end exposure. Of the three, I haven't done the GCP. I've done the Azure and AWS, and I can tell you from my experience that if you want to get a true end-to-end picture of machine learning, and if you're still new to the industry, go with the AWS Machine Learning Specialty, because that's the one that'll not only test your knowledge on the AWS services, but it'll test your knowledge on actual data science and machine learning concepts. So it'll test your knowledge on actually building a machine learning model from a data scientist perspective, not just on what AWS services would you use for for this part of the process. It'll actually test your. It has a whole dedicated section on data engineering, has a dedicated section on exploratory data analysis, as well as a dedicated section on modeling itself. It's about how do you choose a machine learning algorithm, how do you fine tune a machine learning algorithm, as well as productionizing so how do you implement and monitor the machine learning solution. So I would say if you're starting off, AWS Machine Learning Specialty is definitely a good certification to take. And I have published an article on Towards Data Science on how I managed to prepare and pass for that certification, and I'll share the link for that on the chat, on the live stream chat right now. While you're doing this, whatever you've been learning, one important thing that I've also done is publish blog posts and then share them on the LinkedIn profile. Because when you publish blog posts one after another, especially on Towards Data Science, Medium is a sort of a publication platform, and within that, Towards Data Science is a particular channel specifically for data scientists, machine learning engineers, and AI engineers, and it has one of the largest reader base for content that's published on web by the community. So it has one of the largest reader base. So I would say that no matter how simple or complex problem you're working on, or a concept that you've learned that you would like to share, publish it on Towards Data Science, and almost as if you're teaching that concept to new people. Right. So even if you say, for example, if you learn how to code a linear regression model from scratch in Python without actually using any external libraries, publish that as a blog post, just for people who are coming new into the field, who want to learn, can learn from it. And also the fact that it tells the industry and the people, the employers, that you are active and you are learning and you're sharing. So yeah, once you publish those, also share them on LinkedIn, and that'll fill your LinkedIn up with activities on data science, machine learning, and AI engineers. And when you do that, you attract the right people from the industry for you to be able to enter into the field. So it's very important to do that. And finally, yeah, as I mentioned, project yourself as a data scientist as if you're already one, as if you're a machine learning engineer, and feel that way. Because when you feel that way and you project yourself that way, is when the people in the industry will think that he's already an experienced person and there is no harm in hiring this person. So I'm just going to quickly share how I published work on Medium and specifically towards data science, and also how I shared that work on my profile. Let's just be a very quick snippet. So this is the platform. It's called Medium, medium.com. Once you have your account set up on medium.com, go to your profile here and click on write a story. When you do that, you'll come to this page. It'll be a blank page. Write your article in here. So you can have code, you can have images, you can have just a normal, the way you would write a Word document, you can publish a story here. And once you publish your story, there'll be a publish button here once you've written your story. Once you publish your story, then go on to towards data science. So this is a place called, it's just called towardsdatascience.com, and click on contribute. Scroll down. These are all the guidelines of how you should be writing your article, making sure that your images has got the right captioning, you've done your grammatical check, and you're not copying people. Scroll down all the way down up to this point here where you see how do you submit an article, and there'll be a link to a form here. Click on that link, and that takes you to this form that you can fill in. So you would, at this point, you would already have your article published on Medium, and you'll have a link to that article, and you can fill this form in along with that link of the article, and submit a request for being published to the Towards Data Science channel. And sooner or later, that request will get accepted as long as it meets a certain sort of quality standards that they would have set. But as long as you're sensible in what you've done, you'll get accepted. So that's how you submit your article. And I'm also going to quickly share my LinkedIn profile at this point. So this is where, this is one of the Towards Data Science article that I've published on how I transitioned into data science. This is one of the AWS machine learning specialty certification that I achieved. So make sure your LinkedIn profile is actually full of data science and machine learning material. So if you see all of these activities here, it's all to do with data science and machine learning. If you see my experience here, it's all to do with any experience I've gathered as working on any data science projects. And finally, here are all the certifications and any licenses or certifications that I've gathered from AWS, Azure, or GCP, or anything relevant. I also recommend that you pass the LinkedIn assessments for Python, or if there are any other LinkedIn assessments for, say, Azure, AWS. That adds value to if you're applying for jobs through LinkedIn. If you have that, saying that you've actually passed an LinkedIn assessment, definitely adds value to your LinkedIn applications on jobs that are advertised on LinkedIn. So yeah, those are the things I wanted to share. Also, in terms of the books, one thing that I forgot to share was in terms of the books. These are the 3 books that that are on top of my list that I've been reading and I've found most valuable in this particular field, which is Hands-on Machine Learning with Scikit-learn, Keras, and TensorFlow, the 100-page machine learning book, and the Machine Learning Engineering. The 3 most valuable books that I've found very interesting to read. So build a strong profile, and also whatever profile that you build on LinkedIn, make sure that your CV reflects the same sort of profile and same strength in terms of data science and machine learning. So cater your CV around that. So once you've gathered the knowledge, once you've then built your experience, and once you've then build your brand itself, or you projected yourself as a data scientist, I'm sure you're going to attract jobs. And when you have jobs, I'm going to share my experience of how I addressed, what are the most important things in terms of, when it comes to interviews and jobs that I feel the companies assess you on. So generally, an interview process for data scientist interview are 3 to 4 stages, similar to any sort of software engineering or computer science career. So you have a phone interview, you have a technical test after a phone interview, which would be a simple sort of, they would give you a real data set and some problem to create your machine learning solution for. So you create that in a Jupyter notebook, or you deploy that as a dashboard or something on Heroku as part of the test, technical test. Then there'll be a technical interview followed by the test, so that the technical interview will assess you on the technical test itself, as well as your technical experience on data science and machine learning. And finally, if you pass through the technical interview, the cultural fit. I'll share my experience in terms of I used to easily get from phone to tech test to technical interview, and one of the biggest hurdles in some of the initial job interviews that I did was the fact that at that point of time I didn't have the Azure or AWS certification, so I was lacking the productionizing experience. And by doing the AWS and Azure certifications, I had only done AWS by the time I got my first offer. So by doing one of the cloud certifications, it gave me that confidence of, yes, I can put machine learning models into production. I can think of the solution from end to end, and not just from data science perspective. So I think that's when I did the AWS certification is when I was able to pass through the technical interview as well, and get into the final stages. And the final stage is the cultural fit, and that's almost like you've gone through it, and it's just to make sure that you fit in terms of cultural perspective. So if you pass through the technical interview, you're fine. There are 4 key things that I think companies assess you on while they interview you. One is your attitude towards continuous learning and development. Because this field is so dynamic, it continuously changes. There are new technologies and new ways of working in data science and machine learning every month. So companies want to make sure that the new person that comes in, is someone who's dynamic, who's always willing to learn, always willing to develop. So demonstrate your attitude towards continuous learning and development. And you do that by showing them that I'm continuously doing new examinations, I'm continuously doing certifications, and that was one of the things that attracted a role for me. The second thing I would say is, again, that end-to-end awareness, a deep awareness on data science, but a wide awareness from data engineering to productionizing. So a deep in data science and wide in terms of ML ops kind of things. So an end-to-end awareness is very essential. And I got specifically asked a lot of questions around deploying, productionizing, and my experience on cloud, putting the models into cloud and then scaling them up, making sure they are secure. So that's definitely you'll be asked on if you go into a core data science role. Next is demonstrate your understanding of the domain itself and the role in specific, as well as the company. So if you're going into, say, for example, a renewable energy company, understand, what does the engineering, what are the different kind of issues that you have, what kind of data is available, and how does the engineering and the energy industry work in general. What are the issues that the industry itself faces, and what are the issues that the data science can help solve that industry? What kind of data sets you could be working with, and just your general awareness on the company, on the domain, and on the role. And the last thing I think I was assessed on, or I think makes a difference in crossing that border, is your own confidence on the eligibility of the role. So if you project yourself in interviews that you know what you're talking about, the industry, you have the right skills. So if you reflect that confidence in your personality, that you are eligible for the role, then there is no more barriers for you. That opens the door for you, and that gives you the offers that you need. And once you've got into your career, once you've got an offer, once you've started your role, I think it's also very crucial that you don't become stagnant after that. You continuously need to prove yourself that you are learning, you are developing, and you're still on top of the industry. So, and this happens when you continuously carry on doing more certifications, or carry on doing more knowledge share sessions within your company, when you carry on reading more, and working on projects even outside of your company. So even though I have my life at Kainos is already pretty hectic, I'm still working on external data science projects, and I'm making sure that I project myself out to the world, that I'm not just a data scientist working at Kainos. I'm also much more than that. I'm working on external projects. I'm working on community projects. I'm part of some other startup company. So it's very important to diversify your the richness in your data science experience, because if you just work on the data science problems in your company, you would have that limited knowledge or limited exposure to those specific data science problems. But if you carry on learning outside of your role as well, and if you carry on working on more data science projects outside of your role, you're exposing yourself to a much richer data science experience, and that opens doors for you in future, and that also gives you a reason to stay excited and to stay dynamic in your field. Finally, I'd like to share some of the challenges that I've faced through the process of transitioning. So the very first challenge is choosing the resources, because there are, as I mentioned when I started, there are thousands of resources, there are thousands of courses, books, videos, blogs that you can learn from. There is no right or wrong way. I would say that from some of the resources that Ali has shared, pick one or two that you feel most suits your need and fills all the gap that you need to in order for you to get started into the data science journey. Pick one. After you finish that, make sure you carry on diversifying, and it's all about building your own path, your own learning path. So it's the way I would express it is you create your own sort of bachelor's degree, carry on through the learning process of that degree that you've created for yourself, do all the assignments yourself, assess those assignments yourself, and then award the graduation to yourself. That's how I would put it. There is no right or wrong path here. So yeah, there is you can never pick the best. You can only pick what's available in front of you, what you think is right, and what you think will land you to the right place. And don't be afraid of don't have those negative thoughts when you choose a course, and when you're in the middle of the course. Don't have negative thoughts of, oh, maybe I should have started on something else, I should have done that course instead, I should have picked this particular skill to develop instead of that. Don't have those negative thoughts. When you start working on something, finish that off as much as you can. Carry on learning, carry on diversifying your knowledge, and at one point you'll know that you've learned enough, and you need to gather more experience now instead of just carrying on learning. The second challenge I had was how much is enough, because at what point would you say that your data science knowledge is enough for you to get a data science job? There is no measure to how much is enough. There is no set, you can't check on yourself in terms of, okay, I know 100% of pandas now, or I know 100% of matplotlib, or I know 100% of TensorFlow. It is never going to happen. You'll only be learning a very small subset of the whole knowledge that's out there. And that's okay, because you don't need to know the full, you don't need to know everything from A to Z in order for you to be able to land into a data science role or a machine learning role. You only need to know a subset, but focus on the bigger picture, I would say. So when I say focus on the bigger picture, again, I'm referring to that end-to-end piece where you know a bit of data science, not a bit, I mean, you know a good amount of data science, but you also know a bit of, the processes that go before and after creating a simple machine learning model. So focus on the bigger picture, and don't get bogged down to developing 100% of a skill in one particular library, or 100% of one skill. Focus on getting 10% of everything rather than 100% of one thing. That's been my approach. And the very last challenge that I would like to talk about is having that faith, because it's very much possible that you feel this process is very lengthy, and you'll have questions on or self-doubts on, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right course here? Am I building on the right skills? Am I learning the right libraries, or am I gathering the correct knowledge here? Am I on the right path also? And have I done enough? Am I doing enough? Or do I need to do a lot more? So that faith question will always be there. So as long as you are disciplined, and as long as you know that you're putting in the effort, regardless of whether you see the immediate results or not, because not every time the result that the progress that you're making is not tangible. You cannot say that you know 70% of TensorFlow now, and 40% of scikit-learn. You can't measure that. So the only way you can get through that challenge is having faith in yourself, and as long as you know that you are disciplined and you're putting in the work, you will definitely reap the reward. So with that, I think that's all I had to convey. I'll be more than happy to take on any questions at the end, and I'll also answer questions as they come along as the live stream is going on. But with that, I'll stop sharing my screen here, and I'll pass that on to Ali.
All right. Welcome back, guys. So today, what we will, so in this section, what we will focus on now is getting UK visas. So if you are currently in the UK or you want to come to work in the UK, what I will focus on in the next section. So we have one more short section. In this section, I will just give you some tips for maximizing your chances of getting UK visas. So before we go forward, I just want to remind you, if you have any questions, please post them in the chat. I've been answering some of the questions as Raghav was presenting. But if you have any more questions, any struggles, any like strategies that you're thinking about and you're not sure if it's the right strategy, like post them in the chat. Even if it just depends on you, just post them in the chat and we will cover them in the Q&A section at the end. I will also be posting in the chat the answers as we go forward. So in terms of UK visas, there are a couple of points that I want to mention that is very important. So if you want to work in the UK and you want to get a visa to work in the UK, one thing that is very important is that the company that you want to work for, or if you want to work for yourself, you want to have your own company, you will need a visa. So the company that you need to work for, you want to work for, they will need to be on a list of sponsors. So UK government has a list of sponsors, companies that can sponsor migrant workers, and this list is about like 2,000 pages long. I've provided a link for you, so when you click on this link, it will take you to a page like this, where you can look at the list of sponsors. It's a huge document and big database. And what you normally have to do, you see it's just been updated just a couple of, it always gets updated a couple of days ago, is basically what you have to do is search the company and see if they are on this list before you even apply to that company. Otherwise, you're wasting your time because that company doesn't have a license in order to sponsor you. So always make sure the company that you're applying to has a license that they can sponsor you, and also talk to the hiring manager to make sure that they are willing to consider applications from international students who are living in the UK, or from international workers who are living outside of the UK and want to come to work in the UK. So this is just to make sure that you don't waste your time applying for jobs that are not actually providing you with much value in terms of like putting all your effort in like writing an application, making a perfect cover letter, tailoring your CV, only to hear from them that they don't actually consider any international workers or students. I'm sorry. So make sure you do that. The other thing as well is read this guidance document for skilled for UK visa workers. So what this document does is that it provides you with guidance on how much it costs, what exactly things, documents you need. And one thing I would like to mention is that it's at the UK visa system, the way you get a visa is a points-based system. So in order to get the visa, you just need to achieve a couple of points. If you get those points, you get the visa. If you don't get those points, you don't get the visa. It's very simple, and you can appeal the decision. So if you don't get some of those points, you can appeal the decision and they can check that. But what I would like to mention is that read this guidance, read the guidance documents, and make sure that you can get those points. A lot of points, some of those points you will get for having a company that sponsors you. Some of those points you get for being able to speak English and having a proof that you can speak English. other times it's basically that the job that you're getting has a salary that meets the minimum threshold. It's part of the shortage occupation list. That means that the job that you're about to do, it's currently, we don't have enough people in the UK doing them, so it's kind of on a shortage list. So you're prioritized. And for example, if you have some funds in the bank that you can maintain yourself while you're switching from your current job or your from current status to being employed by that sponsor company. So these are like some of the things that you need to prove when you apply for the jobs in the UK. The list of shortage occupations are actually here. So if you go on this list, you would be able to look at the shortage occupation list table here. I think they've changed it now, but it should be in one of these tables that you can have a look at them, and then make sure that the job you're applying to is actually under there. So make sure that you follow these guidance notes, you read through these before you make your application, so that you can maximize your chances. You don't need necessarily to get an immigration lawyer to help you with these applications. I think you can do them to yourself as well. If you just read these guidance notes and applications, that the process is not very complicated. It's just that you have to make sure that all your documents are there, and you would be able to provide the evidence for whatever they're asking. And also talk to the hiring manager. They will help you in your applications in order to get the visas to work in the UK. And make sure you get as many points as you can. So even if like some of those things is not applicable to you, just make sure that's very clear on the application, so that you don't lose any points for misunderstanding or miscommunication between yourself and the caseworker. So that's basically what I have to say. So for example, when you go on the shortage occupation list, this is what you could see. It would be a table where, for example, for software engineers and data scientists, the minimum experienced worker should have a salary of £32,600. This is actually increased, I think. I think it would be around 35K now. But have a look and make sure the current job that you're getting, the current offer, is actually meets that salary requirements. And the description of your job description kind of matches this job description, and you'll be good to go. And one last thing, if you want to have your own startup, there is another tier for that, tier 1 visa, and the rules are completely different for that. I'm not an expert in tier 1, so I would suggest either talking to an immigration lawyer about it, or reading the guidance notes on the UK Gov website on how you can actually get an entrepreneurship visa if you want to have your own startup in the UK. Normally, you may need some funds. I think last time I remember it was £200,000 as the fund, or you need some kind of sponsoring company to fund you, or some kind of institution to sponsor you. So I read the guidance notes, just make sure that you are able to get those before you apply for that, and like to see what your options are. So that covers the visas. And the last thing that I want to talk about before we go to Q&A is, when you break into AI, what's next? What should you do next? Like what's after that? Which it brings me to a couple of points. So in order to grow in your AI career, once you break in, there are a couple of things that you need to do. There's not many of them. One is, be very picky on the projects you work on. So work on projects that align with your values, and it solves a big problem. It's an impactful project. The more impactful it is, the bigger problem it solves, the better opportunities will come your way, and the more your career grows. So there is a correlation between that if you want to be a data scientist towards it. So if you look at all the people that have been very successful, normally the projects they worked on were like projects that were not like problems that were neglected before, and they've managed to solve it in such a novel way that make a big impact, and now a lot of people are using that solution or benefiting from that solution, and has propelled their careers forward. The other thing as well is actually very counterintuitive, because people think, oh, if I'm changing careers, there's going to be a step back before I step forward. I'm the example that this is not the case. So realize that you can skip steps with the right strategy. So what I mean is, you do not have to go one level back before you go one level forward in your direction. So you can actually switch careers without actually a drop in your salary. And normally those roles that are actually you feel like there's so much, you're so much underqualified for, those are actually much better roles. So if you have between job offers, you between two jobs and you don't know which one to pick for, pick the one that you're actually feeling like you're underqualified for, just because it will pushes you so much to learn the skill sets and the strategies that you can never ever learn if you're in a job that you're more comfortable with and it kind of like matches your skill sets. And you don't have to step back. You can actually switch jobs and still have a 10K pay rise or 20K pay rise, depending on like what role you're going for. So, and your previous job role. So, for example, data scientists right now get about 50 to 60K. Senior data scientists could get between 60 to 80K, and principal data scientists are earning 100K plus. So if you this is actually very good, like industry to get in, just because like there is so much money going on, there's so much funding within the companies, both in terms of venture capitalists funding startups as well as big companies growing and investing lots of money in this field, because there is a direct correlation between how much they invest in a data science team as well as how much insights they get from their data, and then they can benefit from it in profits later down the line. So companies are actually very, very open in terms of like paying for the value they get from data scientists and machine learning engineers. And I would suggest is, and last item that I want to note is, even if you're in your 20s, you can earn 80K plus salaries in AI, even if you can do the job. So some roles, you might be able to get lots of salaries even if you're in your 20s. What's important is the value that you can bring to the company and what you can do for the company. And as long as you're honest about the values you have and your own worth, and you can communicate that with your responsibility that you're willing to get and the salary expectations you have to the employer or to the person you want to work with. One technique that I really like, that's popularized by a guy called Ramit Sethi, is briefcase technique. And what that does is that, like, imagine you go sit in an interview or sit in a negotiation and they want to just give you something, and you're like, actually, before we talk about money and salary and stuff, I did some research and I just wanted to show you something, that's something I found and something I came up with. And then you go reach down under the table, you take a briefcase out, you put it on the table, you open it, and you take some documents out and you start like going through the documents with them. This technique is very, like, that's why it's called the briefcase technique. What it is basically shows how much value you can bring to that person or to that employer that you're negotiating with, and then use that as a leverage in order to get a compensation package that actually matches what you are worth or what the value you can bring to the table. It's an opportunity for you to describe and explain the value to the employer in a more nuanced way. Rather than just saying them, you show them. So if you can solve a problem in a specific way using the technologies, instead of like telling them I can do this, you actually have started solving the problem in some way, because you've done your research, you've done your planning, you figured out what their problem was, and you did try to solve the problem to some extent as the MVP, for example, as the minimum viable product. And you could show them that here's what I've done. Imagine what else I can do if I've given the resources and I've given the compensation for it. And they'd be like, oh yeah, yes, please. Here's my money. Go do it for me. And that's called the briefcase technique. And that's one way you can actually make sure that you actually get the compensation package that you're worth once you break into AI. Or as you grow into AI, like switch companies and switch roles. And one thing I would lastly say is be extremely picky with the jobs you apply for, but apply perfectly. So what does that mean? Be extremely picky and be extremely perfect. What I mean is, if you're looking at a job list site, for example, LinkedIn jobs, and you come up with a couple of data science positions, go back to the industry niche that you decided. Only apply to the jobs that are in your niche of choice, because you've decided that niche has low competition and very good, high impactful roles in them. And AI can make a huge impact in those industries. And only apply for those. Don't just go apply for any data science position, even if the money is good, because you will not like that position. For example, it might not align with your values. You may not get it. Then you may spend so much time writing the application and not get their job just because there's so much competition. And also, it may not be impactful for for the society or for the environment. Like you all this time you study AI data science and only to use it on roles that are not very impactful. Like obviously you want to have leave a legacy behind that makes an impact in the world. So apply, be very extremely picky to the jobs you apply, because if the job is right for you, also right for the job. It's like dating. So, but apply perfectly. So what I mean is, if you find something that you think like you're the perfect match for, spend really good time researching the company, researching the role, talking to like people who work in the company, even talking to the hiring manager to understand a bit more about the role, and then tailor your CV perfectly, write a perfect cover letter, use the briefcase techniques on them to make sure you get exactly what you deserve, and that like maximize your chances for that job. If they see like how much you've worked to get that job, they know that you're the right person for it. Because most of the time hiring managers don't just look for their skill set, they do, but other times they look also at the attitude and how much you want the job. So with that said, there are a couple of books I recommend. If you want to focus on building your career and becoming a person of influence, these are some of the books I recommend. 80,000 hours.org is a very good book in terms of like how much you spend all of these 80,000 hours in your career. In what area and direction should you go? Key person of influence and give and take are very good for building your network and becoming building a professional brand in your niche. And the other books are very useful in terms of like soft skills and becoming just a bit better person in terms of like your emotional intelligence and how you deal with other people. These are more important than technical skills, to be honest, in any field, if you want to grow your AI career. I would also suggest having a look at, if you want to start your own thing, your own startup, have a look at Y Combinator's startup school. They have two curriculums at the moment. One for when you have already started a startup and you want to grow you want to make something out of it. And two, if you have no idea and you just want to start a startup, you have no idea what you want to do, you're not sure about anything yet, they have another course for future founders where they can actually teach you all the stuff about what's the best way to find a perfect startup idea. Should you use AI on it? Should you not use AI, and things like that? So these are very good, useful courses I would recommend you to take, and all of them are free, about 8 weeks long. The main points are: notice a problem worth solving and people care about, and then focus on building products for those. So that's the main points for these when you want to go forward. Build something people want, focus on problems that have an impact, and actually people will start build products that actually people want to start using. So that means you have to talk to people and figure out what their problems are and just build those products that only focus on that problem. And realize that AI doesn't always solve the problem. It's just a tool. So don't go and try to fit the solution to the problem. Find a problem that a solution of it could be AI. And with this, you can actually build a startup that could actually make an impact, that could actually get funded and not die before it's even born. On startups, these are the books I recommend. So there are some books on Entrepreneur Revolution is a good book for people. It's about like how global businesses are becoming social global enterprises. Biographies are really good. The best book I've read so far from these is The Mom Test and The Lean Startup. So Mom Test is about product idea validation. Lean Startup is really good for like making sure that you're actually focusing on the right things when you're building your startup, not vanity metrics like number of social media engagement, how much social media engagement you have, things like that are vanity metrics, rather than like the profits you're making and number of users you have. So focus on those, and I will guarantee you that when you break into AI, you will have a really good career and you maximize your chances for breaking into AI. Just lastly to mention is make sure that you search us up on Beginners Machine Learning on Meetup and join our group and join our future webinars. And also don't forget to sign up for the course that starts tomorrow. So if you want to learn a bit more about computer vision, we're having this workshop live tomorrow. So I will be teaching you bits about computer vision and working with OpenCV fundamentals. And there will be first session tomorrow and the second session next Sunday at 10:30 a.m. So one session tomorrow at 10:30, second session Sunday 10:30, and this will be like a Zoom webinar, more like intimate, where we can actually spend some time together on working on projects, and I will give you some lectures on various different concepts and algorithms that are very useful in computer vision, and you will have some projects to complete to solidify your understanding. So with that said, we now open the table for Q&A. So right now, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat, and I will try to answer them as much as we can. I will also try to switch with Raghav as well, and he will try to answer those questions in his angle, in his viewpoint, from his background, as he goes forward. So thank you everyone for joining us today. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat right now. We can have 5 to 10 minutes to answer any of your questions that you may have, and go from there. So I can wait. I'm gonna wait a couple of minutes to see if any questions pop up, and I will answer them in a minute. So Vinyak has been asking about what's more important, maths behind deep learning or ability to code them? So what I would suggest is, in terms of maths and deep learning, I would suggest first learning. The technologies first. Get your hands around them, and practice with them and learn them a bit first before you go into the maths, because it's just that if you're interested in maths, then yeah, go ahead with maths. But for most people, they're more interested in like seeing how the technology works before they open under the hood. When you go and try to learn to drive a car, you don't start learning about the differential system, the gearing system, that the wheel sets. You don't go and learn about like the engine of the car before you sit in a car and drive it. You first drive the car, you drive a few cars. When you're done driving the cars, and you're accustomed to driving, then you go and try to understand a bit more about how you can repair cars if they break down, and like how you can actually get a better car. They start learning about horsepower and all of those things. This is the same thing with AI. First, learn deep learning frameworks, learn how to build some simple models, some complex models, then go from there, and then focus on the maths and things like that. So that's what my suggestion would be. Tatiana has been asking about, my biggest frustration is how do you get a job in AI as a university grad when job requirements even for junior positions include 1 to 3 years of experience. So my view is that this is always not the case. Actually, sometimes you could find roles that actually don't require 1 to 3 years experience. Focus on that niche that I said, like focus on industries that have less competition. For those industries that are like saying for junior roles, they want 1 to 3 years experience. Most of the time, these companies are taking a piss. They're just basically shoplifting. They're listing all the skill sets and all the experience they want in a data scientist. And it could be a skill set of a whole data science team, not just one person. Like they're asking for like 10 many different things. In that case, I suggest that just apply to the position. It doesn't matter if you match all of the skill sets or not. You still can get the position, depends on the competition. So if other candidates are really bad, and you're the best candidate of all of them, and you don't match all of the items on the list, they will hire you, just because they still need someone to be able to undertake the role, and you're the best candidate for it, even if you're underqualified for what they're looking for, or they're just basically shoplisting. So if it's any of that case, just still apply for it and you still can get it. Otherwise, if you want to match all of those things to have a better chance of getting the job, I recommend that you do some volunteering projects, build your own projects, so come up with your own projects and work on them, or find a friend that work on a project together, build a project portfolio, and count those years that you're working on that project portfolios, so on different projects that are related to AI, as number of years that you have experience. So if you work for clients, do freelancing. If you do volunteering for a company, Do you do internships? We work on your own projects. All of those years that you work on these projects that are for these people or for yourself count as years of experience, because that's what matters, the portfolio. Not like that you only have worked employed by a company officially. And you can talk about that in your CV a bit more and try to sell them using the briefcase technique. Any other questions? So what I can do is I could also cut my stream and give the stream to Raghav. He can also shed some light on these techniques and strategies.
Hi everyone, again Raghav here. So I'm just going to answer those two questions from my perspective. The first one was again from Vinayak, asking how much is maths important for getting a job and also down the line as your role in data science or machine learning. So I would say yes, definitely maths is good. If you know maths, you would be able to understand what's going on under the hood, and also understand when you have issues, how to address those issues. It'll help you understand if you know statistics, it'll help you understand the distribution of the data and how we can prepare the data for your actual machine learning model, so the machine learning model can best utilize the data. So maths is definitely important as a data scientist or as a machine learning engineer, but again, as Ali mentioned, it's to get the role itself, to get the job itself, machine like the implementation bit is much more important to get the job, to get into the industry. Focus now first on getting your implementation bit correct. So when I say implementation bit, I mean understand just knowing the libraries and being able to implement or develop a machine learning model, train a machine learning model, and deploy a machine learning model without actually getting much into detail of the maths itself. So implementation bit is definitely of much higher importance at the stage where you're transitioning or you're getting into AI, and focus on developing that skill set first. But yes, under the hood, you'll understand that when you actually get into the role itself and when you start working on data sets, you realize the importance of why you need to know the maths behind it. And that point is when you can kind of, once you've got the implementation bit sorted, is when you can really focus on working, understanding the maths behind the machine learning models or neural networks. So that's the first point. Next, I would say is on the second question, how do you build the experience and how do you show that experience while you're a grad or while you're still studying? There is also roles out there which are at grad levels. So there are graduate schemes and placements out there for AI engineers and data scientists. And the company I work for, which is Kainos, are hiring placement students as well as grads for at an entry level into AI. And I'm sure there are many other companies who are also hiring placement students and grads into this field. This wasn't a case before, so there weren't many placements or graduate schemes when I graduated, but I think it's much more common now, and it is possible to still get into AI without having a whole lot of commercial experience. But yes, you do need to show your merits in getting into it. So you do need to show that you've got the right skill sets and you've done some projects you've worked on, whether it's voluntary projects or whether it's university projects that you've worked on, or whether it's any freelance work that you've done yourself or a part of any community. So you do need to show some experience and your merits in having the basic skill sets that you require. But at the same time, depending on what role that you want to get into, what company you want to get into, you need to show more of an enthusiasm for that sort of role. So if you're getting into consultancy, you need to show an commercial awareness of how you would act in a commercial consulting environment. Or if you're getting into any specific industry like engineering itself, you need to have an awareness of how data science is used for that industry and what are the typical sort of challenges in that industry. So I think that bit where having a domain specific knowledge and understanding and also being able to showcase your merits for the skills and some experience will cover you up for not having a whole lot of commercial experience. So don't worry if you don't have 2 or 3 years of commercial experience or anything. Just focus on being yourself is focus on having, showing some merits on, you going out and going out of your comfort zone and being able to do something, whether it's, some GitHub project, community project, open source project, or university projects, and make sure that you have that domain understanding of what company or what industry that you want to get into, without actually being too worried about, not having the right level of experience. So yeah, I think with that, I'm pretty much done with the questions, unless there are any more. I'm just going to check if there are any more questions that I can answer. So yeah, I think from my experience between the different parts on data scientist and machine learning engineer, from my experience, data scientist is much more of a technical path where you need to know a lot more math, um, whereas machine learning engineers are also a lot more focused on implementing the models into the bigger infrastructure. So machine learning engineers have more of an end-to-end understanding, whereas data scientists have more of a core data science understanding, where their focus is more on statistics and the data science piece and developing the model itself from scratch. There are different paths out there. What you want to work on totally depends on your focus and your interests. They're all equally good. So there are data engineers, machine learning engineers, data scientists, AI engineers, and these are the parts that I'm aware of. I'm sure there are more. Um, Again, AI engineers are sort of similar to machine learning engineers, where they're more focused on, implementation bit and, connecting the models to the larger infrastructure, and also having a more in-depth understanding compared to data scientists in terms of fine-tuning the models. So machine learning engineers are more focused on modeling and, fine-tuning the model itself, and then implementing that into a larger scale. And data scientists, from my understanding, are more focused on building the model from ground up and understanding the data from scratch. So that's my view on it, and I think with that I'm pretty much done. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and I hope that whatever I had to convey was helpful and useful to some of you. With that, I'll pass that back to Ali. Thank you very much for listening again.
All right, welcome back. So I would suggest to answer the last question. So machine learning engineers are some kind of data scientists that only focus on machine learning. So with that said, you don't need to become a data scientist, like a full-fledged data scientist that knows statistics and everything. What you need to do is focus on those skills that are only focused on machine learning algorithms, deep learning frameworks, and some bits of maths. And that's it. And deployment onto the cloud of these models. So if you want to just focus on building the best AI models, you need to know your algorithms really well. You need to know some maths behind them, how they work, so that you can fine tune them or come up with your own algorithms. And you need to know all the various machine learning concepts, because data scientists might not build AI models. They may focus mostly on data wrangling, data analysis, and like writing data, writing very complex algorithms, nothing to do with machine learning, but machine learning engineers, but they could do machine learning as well. But machine learning engineers only focus on that subfield of data science that is just machine learning and building, deploying, and creating AI models. So if you just want to become a machine learning engineer, that's your like passion, and you're not interested in anything else, then I would just focus on learning the algorithms, reading books on machine learning, and learning a bit of maths and a bit of stats behind under the hood, just so that you understand how those algorithms work with that context in mind, not with the context of like wrangling data and like doing all the other stuff. So I think with that said, guys, that's the last of the questions. If you have any more questions, please post them. Otherwise, thank you very much, everyone, for coming here today. If you guys want, you can actually add us on LinkedIn. So this is my profile and this is Raghav's profile. And feel free to search us up on Meetup, Beginners Machine Learning London. Join our Meetup group. And tomorrow as well, we have a workshop. Don't forget, if you're interested in that workshop. The link for registration is down below. And with that said, thank you very much, everyone, for coming today. I hope it's been very useful for you. Let us know if you have any more further questions on LinkedIn. Just reach out to us if you're struggling with something. And we hope that you are, have a good, easy journey going forward, and you can actually, break into AI or like get where you want to get. Let us know where you end up in and where you want to go and how we can help. And we would be very interested to know, what you guys come up with and the impact you have. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you have a really good weekend.